বলছি ওই যে অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স শিট ফর্মটা ওটা কতক্ষণ নিয়ে আছে?
ওটা অনেকক্ষণ আছে,
মানে
ওটাতে অসুবিধা নেই, নো প্রবলেম উইথ দ্যাট।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, তাহলে সেশনটা শেষ করার পর তাহলে ওটা করবো
শিওর
তাহলে।
শিওর শিওর, it will
ওকে
be
স্যার।
valid till tomorrow, 2 p.m. it will be valid, so you can
ওকে স্যার,
submit
ওকে
the form till tomorrow 2 p.m. Okay.
ওকে স্যার,
So
থ্যাংক ইউ।
oh, okay, so you can see that thermodynamics is the study of heat when it is in motion. In broader sense, thermodynamics is considered as the study of that topic when energy is in motion. Okay, so sometimes there is a uh, very basic confusion about heat and thermal energy. Okay, so I think Ayushman is there. Ayushman, can you please unmute yourself?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, ঠিক আছে স্যার, ঠিক আছে, এবার
Okay, Ayushman, please tell me what is the difference between heat and thermal energy?
স্যার।
Do you think there is any kind of difference?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Okay, then please tell what is or are the differences?
স্যার, হিটটা হতে পারে, হিটটা ট্রান্সফার হতে পারে,
Okay,
বাট থার্মাল এনার্জি ট্রান্সফার হতে পারে না।
okay, okay, okay. Thank you, Ayushman. Okay, so I will start with what Ayushman has said. So it is a basic point. Okay, the basic thing is that when we have something which can be heat is called as heat is called as energy in transit. Okay, energy in transit. Always remember that heat is something which can flow, which can be transferred, but thermal energy can only be generated. Okay, like all of you are students of automobile, so I believe you have some kind of idea regarding the principles of engine. You know how does the combustion process works. So what happens
স্যার
in
আমি বিজয় বলছি।
hello?
হ্যাঁ স্যার আমি বিজয় বলছি।
Yes, yes.
হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ, বল বল, শুনছি তো,
হ্যাঁ
বল
বলছি
বিজয়।
স্যার, থার্মাল এনার্জিকে তো সেই এনার্জি তো কখনো ডিস্ট্রয় হয় না, মানে
No,
ওয়ান কাইন্ড মানে একটা ফর্ম থেকে আরেকটা ফর্মে ট্রান্সফার হয়। তা
obviously.
আপনি যে বললেন যে থার্মোডাইনামিক্স মানে থার্মোডাইনামিক্স কেবল মানে কেবল প্রডিউস হতে পারে, তা এটা কিরকম হলো ব্যাপারটা বুঝলাম না স্যার।
Okay, okay, okay. আমি ওটা এক্সাম্পল দিতে যাচ্ছি, যে সাপোজ ইন কেস অফ ফুয়েলে what is stored in fuel? In case of fuel, internal energy is stored in the form of chemical energy. Okay, so when you go through the exothermic reaction, so because of the exothermic reaction, high thermal energy is generated. Okay, here comes the word generation. So this chemical energy is actually getting converted into thermal energy. So loosely আমরা generally কি করব, sometimes we use the word heat is being generated. So in this case, chemical energy is converted into thermal energy. Chemical energy is not converted into heat. Here comes the difference between thermal energy generation and heat. Heat cannot be generated, heat can be transferred. Okay, so the word, when you will see in your heat transfer classes that there are some words, heat generation. Heat can never be generated. Heat can only be transferred. Whenever there is some temperature difference, heat can flow from the higher temperature to the lower temperature. And from the point of view of energy conservation principle, no energy can be created or be destroyed. It can be only converted. That means when I am speaking about thermal energy generation, it means that from some kind of energy, uh, chemical energy for case of fuel, some kind of energy has been converted into uh, thermal energy, so that we are using the word thermal energy generation for fuel or during combustion. But loosely we will use the word heat generation during combustion. So I would expect that from today onwards you will not use the word heat generation or heat addition in combustion. You will consciously use thermal energy generation for combustion. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. ठीक है. So thermodynamics is the study of heat and work, because heat and work both are in transit. That means both are in motion. So this is the uniqueness of heat and work. And there is another energy which we call as internal energy, which we call as internal energy. Internal energy is always stored. Internal energy, internal stored energy. Okay, better to use this word so that you will always remember that internal energy refers to the stored energy within the system. So internal stored energy is the energy which is stored within the system. Okay, so this internal energy comes up because of the, and it is the addition of all possible energies like molecular kinetic energy, molecular potential energy, molecular vibrational energy, and many other energy factors. Okay, so it is the stored energy, and always remember it is dependent on the temperature. Okay, temperature of the system. So it is always a function of temperature. That means if you transfer heat by some means so that the temperature of the system goes on increasing, it means that the internal energy of the system has been increased. So this internal energy would become, it will obviously at 0 Kelvin, okay, at 0 Kelvin the internal energy would become 0. It will become 0. But you know that no, it is impossible to create this absolute 0 temperature. So internal energy cannot be 0 practically. From practical point of view, internal energy cannot be 0. Temperature can never be absolute 0. So there will be always some amount of internal energy stored within the system. Okay, so this is how we can categorize energy. One is energy in transit and the another one is energy in storage. Energy in storage. Energy in storage. So always remember that heat and work transfer are the examples of energy in transit, whereas internal energy is the example of energy in storage. So energy can always have these two distinct categories. Okay, these two distinct specific categories the energy can have. One is which can flow, the energy which can flow, the energy which is always stored. So these are the two specific categories. Okay, so this is, so we are dealing with the subject where we will study what happens and how does it happen when heat or work is transferred from system to surroundings or surroundings to system. So you all of you are well acquainted with the words system and surroundings. Now we will see what do we mean by system and surroundings. Before that, we will also study the macroscopic and microscopic viewpoints of thermodynamics. Okay. Okay. So what do we mean by this macroscopic factor and what do you mean by microscopic factor? Can anyone tell? Can anyone have any idea? Hello? I am expecting answers from the third year students because they have already studied these things. What is this macroscopic viewpoint and what is this microscopic viewpoint? Can someone say?
স্যার যখন আমরা অ্যাটমিক পর্যায়ে দেখি কোনো জিনিসকে, কোনো একটা পার্ট মানে জিনিসের ভিতরে অভ্যন্তরীণ পার্টগুলো, তখন সেটাকে মাইক্রোস্কোপিক। আর যেটা যখন ইউনিভার্সকে ঘিরে হয়, যেমন আমাদের পুরো ওয়ার্ল্ডটা একটা ইউনিভার্স, সেটাকে সিস্টেম বা ধরা হলে সেটাকে মাইক্রোস্কোপিক বলা হয়, মানে বলা যেতে পারে।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, suppose এটা একটা container. Let us consider this is a container where some amount of gas is stored within it. The volume of this gas is V1 and the pressure is P1. Okay. Now we can think of this gas stored in this container as a gas of volume V1 which is exerting pressure P1 on this cylinder. Okay, we can think this gas from this viewpoint, and we can also think from this viewpoint that it is a collection of numerous molecules. Okay, so depending on the volume of the gas, we can calculate the number of moles and we can also calculate the number of molecules. So from this viewpoint, we can see that there are numerous number of molecules and they are colliding with each other. So depending on each collision, there are some energy interactions. So these are the two viewpoints. In first case, you are observing this gas as a gas which is stored within a cylinder which has a volume of V1 and it is exerting a pressure of P1. And in the other case, you can think that it is a collection of say 6 point so you can see that there are 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 number of molecules which are colliding with themselves and they are constantly interacting with themselves by the mode of energy transfer. So these are the two ways by which you can study this matter stored within the cylinder. So the first viewpoint, when we are just thinking this volume as V1, as a matter of V1 stored within a cylinder, this is the macroscopic viewpoint. That means you are focusing on the matter which you are able to see, which you are able to visualize, okay, which you can measure. And the second one is the microscopic viewpoint. That means each system, anything, any surroundings is comprised of numerous molecules, infinite number of molecules. So when you study from that viewpoint, when you study from the molecular viewpoint, it will be called as microscopic viewpoint. Okay, so this macroscopic, so the general thermodynamics which we will study is from this macroscopic viewpoint, and this microscopic viewpoint needs a special attention and it is studied in a specific subject which is called as statistical thermodynamics. Okay, so we study this microscopic viewpoint from the statistical thermodynamics point of view. Okay, so these are the examples of, and these are the clarifications of macroscopic and microscopic viewpoints. Now, so here you can see this is the system, this is the surroundings, and this is the system boundary. So what is system? What is system? System is a space it can be space, it can be a certain mass, it can be a certain well-defined mass at a certain uh, defined space. Okay, so system is something where we are focusing all our attention. Okay, that means suppose we have a boiler. Let us consider this as a boiler. A very simple thing. Let us consider this as a boiler. So what happens in a boiler? Water is converted into steam. Okay, so in case of boiler, you give heat, you transfer heat, a very high amount of heat is being transferred to boiler, so that water enters the boiler and it is left as steam. Okay, in thermal power plants you will see that this device is indispensable. Okay, in case of all the thermal power plants, boilers are present, or devices where this conversion of water into steam will happen. These are always present. Okay, so now the question is, so when you are focusing on this boiler, so this is your space, this is the water is stored within this boiler and it is being heated continuously so that this water can be converted into steam. So this, all your attention is focused on this boiler. Are you focusing on the space in the boiler, or you are focusing on this water? So your system is nothing but this water. Okay, so this water is accompanying this space in this boiler. So your system is this water which is being heated continuously so that it can be converted into steam. That means, and now the question is, so this is your system. So let us consider this as a system. Let us write this as water. So let us consider this as water. So now what is happening here? What is happening here? Heat is being transferred. Heat is being transferred.
Hello,
Yes.
sir. Devjit wait করছে স্যার
হ্যাঁ?
Devjit Bhattacharya.
Okay. So as I was saying, so this is your water which is stored within a boiler and heat is being transmitted. Heat is being supplied. Okay, heat is being transferred so that this water can change its phase and it can be converted into steam. Now the question is, then what is the surroundings? What is the effect of the surroundings? The system is taking heat. The system is receiving heat from the surroundings. If there was no surroundings, if the system could have been heated by itself, then there was no requirement of surroundings. But practically it is not possible. You can only heat up an object if you apply heat from the outside, if you transfer heat from the surroundings. So here comes the importance of system and surroundings. And the system and surroundings is always defined. They are well, this system and the surroundings, they are differentiated by this system boundary. So until and unless you don't specify a system boundary, you don't know which one is your system and which one is the surroundings. So you always need a system boundary to specify the difference between system and the surroundings. Now the system boundary can be rigid, it can be fixed. Okay, it can be fixed, it can be rigid, or it can be flexible. Okay, that means it can be movable also. Okay, this boundary can be movable also. or it can be flexible also. So system boundary can be rigid as well as flexible. So depending on the devices in which these energy interactions are taking place. Energy interactions means heat and energy transfer, heat and work transfer to be specific, and mostly heat and work transfer. And if there is mass flow within the system, if mass is flowing along the system to the surroundings or from the surroundings, then this mass would also carry some amount of energy within it. So heat, work, and mass. Okay, heat, work, and mass. So these three are the energy transfer elements. Okay, heat, work, and mass. So whenever you see that there is flow of mass and flow of energy, so they can be broadly characterized as energy in transit to be specific. So when both energy and mass are in transfer, that means energy can be transferred to a system and mass can also be transferred to a system, then we can say that this system is open to both the energy and mass flow. Now if it is only open to energy interactions but closed to mass flow, then it will be closed system. So closed system means mass transfer is not allowed. So this is a fixed mass system. Okay, so this is called as control mass system. Control mass means it is a fixed mass system. Okay, so mass is unchangeable, so mass doesn't change. So okay, sometimes we also say that this closed system has a fixed identity because its mass is not changing, so it will have an identity which will remain as it was earlier. Okay, but in case of open system, the identity would go on continuously changing. An isolated system, there is no energy transfer, no mass transfer. So isolated to both energy and mass transfer. Okay, so these are the basic concepts which we need to understand to study energy and to study the concept of engines and concept of energy transfers in engines. Basically we'll be studying from the point of view of thermodynamics and a little bit of heat transfer, so that we can understand the energy transfer which is happening in automotive engines. That means in case of petrol engines and in case of diesel engines. So I will be taking 3 to 4 classes, and Kollan sir will be taking 1 to 2 classes. So I will deal with the thermodynamics and heat transfer part, and Kollan sir will be dealing with the application of thermodynamics in analyzing these engines. Okay, so let us move on to our topic. So I hope that you have got an understanding regarding the system and surroundings and the different system which exist. Just 1 minute. Okay, so for second year students, you can see that this is nothing but a piston. Okay, so this piston can move in both these directions. So when the piston is moving in the downwards direction, that means it is a volume. Okay, so it is the volume of the gas. What is happening here? If the piston moves in the downwards direction, then it will compress this volume, and if the piston moves in the upwards direction, then what will happen? This volume would expand. Okay, that means the volume would increase if the piston moves in this direction, the volume would decrease if the piston moves in this direction, in the downwards direction. Okay, now it is easy to understand, that this system, this one, that at this state point 1, at this point 1, this piston is exerting some amount of pressure and there is some amount of volume. Okay, we can specify this, we can measure this volume and we can measure this pressure, right? It is easy to measure and easy to understand that when the piston is at this position, it is exerting some amount of pressure, and this pressure is, let us consider this pressure to be P1 and the volume to be V1. Now when, let us suppose the expansion of this gas. Okay, we are considering the expansion of this gas. So when the piston comes to this place, what is happening here? So what happens here? The volume which was here, it will be somehow increased to this amount of increase will be there, volume, right? So the volume changes, and you know pressure is inversely proportional to volume. This is a very basic idea. You know pressure is inversely proportional to volume. So if the volume goes on increasing, that means when an expansion is taking place, it means there is obviously a pressure drop. So here you can see that this point, this state point 1, is plotted in a graph, where these are the parameters, these are the changing parameters. This is the pressure and this is the volume. So what do? You plot this point, this P1 point and V1 point. Like, let us consider this is 1 atm pressure, 1 atmospheric pressure, and let us consider this is 1 meter cube volume. So with this understanding, you have a graph paper with you and you simply plot the point. So this is in atms, let us consider. Okay, so by this you can plot this point. So in case of thermodynamics, when you have 2 points, okay, when we have 2 specific properties or some characterization thing by which you can characterize a system. Suppose you have bought 5 kilos of potatoes with you and you are bringing it home. Then how you do explain that this is very tough to carry that? How do you explain that you are facing a lot of trouble regarding carrying that 5 kg of potato? So what you will say? You will use this word, this 5 kg. So here this kg defines the mass, the huge mass which you need to carry. Okay, so this is the thing by which you are getting trouble. Similarly, in case of thermodynamics, there are some important parameters by which we need to address the characteristics of the system. So these parameters are called as properties. They are called as properties. Okay, so these properties can be of 2 types, extensive and intensive. Extensive means that it depends on mass. Intensive means it is independent of the mass. Okay, so properties can be of 2 types, extensive and intensive. extensive depending on the mass, intensive is independent of the mass. Okay. So when you have two properties like pressure and volume, when you have two properties of a certain system, then with the help of these two properties, you can specify a certain state of the system. You can specify a state of the system. Okay, at this state, at state point 1, the system had pressure 1 and volume 1. So this is how you can specify the state and the properties. Okay. Now what is process? What is a thermodynamic process? So here you can see that this piston, this volume is getting expanded and it has come from this state point to this state point. So from state point 1 to state point 2. Okay. So so when the system is coming from state point 1 to state point 2, there are 3 intermediate states which have been plotted. So like I have drawn this by the blue ink. Here you can see this is another one. So this is the state point. Okay. So by this green, you can plot the next one, and by this you can plot the. So these are the 3 intermediate states. That means this piston has reached here. This piston will reach here and here. Thus, you can see there is an increase in the volume and continuous decrease in the pressure. If the volume is getting increased, then by virtue of this, pressure would always be decreasing. Okay. So you can see that at this point, the pressure is reduced. So initially it was at this pressure, then it got reduced here. Okay, then it got reduced here, and continuously you can see that there is an increase in volume. So if you observe this, so this is your volume, and for state point 2, this is your volume. So there is a huge increase in volume. Okay, is that clear? So therefore we can define thermodynamic properties, states and processes. Now I would like to define thermodynamic cycles. What do you mean by thermodynamic cycles? Now the system had come from state point 1 to state point 2. Okay, the volume had expanded. Now if you make some arrangement, if you are able to make some arrangement so that the piston will again come from this position to this position. So from everything started, from where everything started. Okay, if the system is capable to come to its initial position in the same way as it had changed from state point 1 to state point 2, so we can be, okay, just let me draw it once more. So we can draw a line like this, a curve like this. So this was the direction of the first point, first process, state point 1 to state point 2. Now it is capable to come at its initial position. So this will be the direction of the process. It will come back to the initial position. So now you can say that a thermodynamic cycle has been completed. So thermodynamic cycle means the initial states and the final states would be same. Okay, the initial states and the final states would be same. Okay, is that clear? So I would like to just say one thing. So first of all, you have properties by which you can understand a system, you can measure a system. Then by the help of two properties, you can define a state. Then if the states change, that means if you have two different states, that means a thermodynamic process has occurred. So when the piston compresses the air fuel mixture in the petrol engine. Okay, that means the air fuel mixture has been taken into the cylinder as we open the inlet valve. Okay, and then the piston is moving upwards and it is compressing the air fuel mixture. So what is happening? Consequently, pressure and temperature is rising up. So this is what a process is called. It is the change of states. So initially, the air and fuel mixture is at a certain pressure and certain temperature, and because of the compression, the temperature is rising very fast, and the temperature is very high. So you can understand the change in the states. Okay, this is how a process can be understood. Okay, do you have any questions? Hello, any questions from anyone?
No, sir.
No questions. Hello. Okay, so we will now move on to thermodynamic equilibrium and the concept of the quasi-static process. So the study of thermodynamics is practically different from the real cases. So what happens in reality is studied differently or ideally in case of thermodynamics. Though the principles are same, but there are always differences between the ideal processes and the real processes. Okay. So the people who have studied the automobile engines and they have also studied the auto cycles, they must understand what are the differences. What are the differences in reality, and what are the differences between the real processes and the ideal conceptualized processes. Okay. So with this thermodynamics, I want to say that thermodynamics is based on two basic assumptions. For every analysis of thermodynamics, we need to assume two things. The first thing is that after each and every process has been completed, the system and the surroundings would reach thermodynamic equilibrium. After each and every process has been completed, the system and surroundings should reach the thermodynamic equilibrium. Now, what is this thermodynamic equilibrium? So this is the first assumption. Okay, I will talk about the second assumption when we deal about the quasi-static process. Okay, now the thing is, so each and every process should maintain the thermodynamic equilibrium conditions after it has been ended or it has been closed. Okay, so this is your thermodynamic equilibrium. So you can see so thermodynamic equilibrium is the combination of three specific equilibriums. What are they? The first one is mechanical equilibrium. That means we have already discussed that in case of thermodynamics, all the analysis is dependent on the system and the surroundings. So if there is no pressure difference or imbalance in force between the system and the surroundings, then we can say that the system and the surroundings, they are in mechanical equilibrium. So mechanical equilibrium means the pressure difference dp means the difference in pressure. Okay, so dp is equal to 0. No imbalance in force, we can write also df equal to 0. Okay, so mechanical equilibrium means there will be no difference in pressure between the system and the surroundings, and there will be no imbalance in the force between the system and the surroundings. Okay, is that clear? So the system and surroundings, if they want to maintain the thermodynamic equilibrium, they need to maintain these three conditions. So this is your first point, mechanical equilibrium. Now let us come on to the next point, thermal equilibrium. So every one of us have studied the concept of thermal equilibrium in the school level. So what is thermal equilibrium? If there is no temperature difference between the system and the surroundings, if both the system and the surroundings have the same temperature, no temperature difference, that means dt is 0. So if dt is 0, then it can be said that the system is in thermal equilibrium. And the second one is chemical equilibrium. So in case of, while chemical reactions happen, there is always a difference in the mass concentration gradients. So this is for your information, there is nothing to understand because this is beyond the scope of your syllabus. So you can write dc. dc is the mass concentration gradient. So dc, or sometimes it is also used as d mu. So when dc or d mu is equal to 0, it means that the system is in chemical equilibrium. So when mechanical, thermal and chemical equilibrium conditions are fulfilled, it means that the system is in thermodynamic equilibrium, and each and every thermodynamic process should be in thermodynamic equilibrium after it has been completed. Okay, so this is the first assumption of studying thermodynamics, doing analysis by thermodynamics. So this is the first assumption. Now we move on to the next assumption, which we call as quasi-static process. So this is a very important word, and this is the second assumption. That means all thermodynamic processes should be quasi-static process. All thermodynamic processes are assumed to be quasi-static process. Now what do you mean by quasi or this quasi-static process? This word quasi means almost. So if you try to read the process now, that means almost static process. Almost static process. So a process which is almost static. Now why it is important to think of this almost static process? To do the analysis via thermodynamics, we need to understand, we need to study each and every state. Until and unless we don't have each and every state with us, we cannot plot a thermodynamic diagram. Okay, here you can see this is the state point 1, 2, 3, 4. So here this first condition is being mentioned. Each state, and after every process it should be maintained in equilibrium. So following the first assumption, so until and unless you don't have this enough number of states, you cannot express this process via this graph. Now how we can explain it physically? Suppose a gas is contained in a cylinder which is having these state points P1, V1 and T1. That means The pressure exerted by the weights are P1, the volume of the gas is V1, and the temperature is T1. Now let us consider this is the weight of this material is W. Now in the first case, what you do, you remove the whole weight. You remove the total weight. Okay. What will happen? The piston will strike this top. As soon as you remove the weight, the total weight, the piston will move in the upward directions and it will strike this stop, right? This is what is going to happen. So if you remove the total weight, and if you do in another way where you first remove this weight. So initially what you do, you remove this weight, this amount of weight you remove. So what will be the increase? The piston will rise, it will move upwards. This will be the rise. Again, if you remove this weight, then the piston will rise here. If you remove this weight, then the piston will rise here. So this is a process where you can see the changes are very minimal. So if you go on removing these weights one by one, and if you think that there are such thousand or 10,000s of weights which you go on removing one by one, then you can observe that the changes are very minimalistic and they are very, very slow. Okay, so this is why we say that infinite slowness is the characteristics of any quasi-static process. Now, why this infinite slowness is important? It can be understood from physical point of view as well as graphical point of view. Let us think you don't have the state points. Okay, so you have only this point and this point. So you can join this line by this way. You can join this line by this way. You can join this line by this way. You can join by a straight line. You can join. So when you are connecting two points, you have infinite number of probabilities. Okay, you don't have the authenticated way by which this process has been completed. So until and unless you don't trace all the states, you are not able to trace all the states, you cannot plot this graph. You are unable to plot this graph. So when you have this point, this point, this point, this point, then only you can draw this graph. Okay, so until and unless you don't have the intermediate states with you, you cannot predict in which way the process has been carried out. You can only see that the process has been completed. But you will be unable to understand how the process has been completed. So this is why this assumption is very important. You need to consider any thermodynamic process as a quasi-static process, but you can understand that this doesn't happen in reality. So you cannot wait for infinite time to carry out a thermodynamic process. You cannot wait for infinite time to do the combustion or to do the compression. Okay, right? So quasi-static is an assumption only, so that we can plot this graph. That means if this process had taken infinite time to complete, then this would have been the nature of the curve. This would have been the nature of the process. Okay, to understand the process from analytical point of view, to understand the pressure volume characteristics, or if we use any other parameter to analyze, then this becomes important. Okay, so with this I would like to end this session here, and if you have any questions, you are free to ask.
স্যার বলছি এই কোয়াসিস্ট্যাটিক প্রসেসটা ওয়াই ইম্পর্টেন্ট, মানে
কেন
এটা
ইম্পর্টেন্ট?
যদি এটা স্লো প্রসেস হয় তো এটা ইম্পর্টেন্সটা কিসে?
ইম্পর্টেন্টটা কেন? ইম্পর্টেন্টটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা আমরা অটো সাইকেল কেন ইম্পর্টেন্ট? Why auto cycle is important? I think you know the fact that the real process which is happening in the petrol engine is different from auto cycle.
Yes, sir.
You know this thing. Still,
Hmm.
we depend on auto cycle. Why? It is not that we don't have the diagram or the PV diagram of the real cycle. We do have it. Still, we depend on auto cycle. Why?
But sir, theoretically it's dependable.
Okay. So that means to analyze the cycle from a theoretical point of view, to analyze the efficiency point of view, we are dependent on auto cycle. Okay. So
Okay. Okay, sir.
if we know the compression ratio of the auto cycle, then we can compare the efficiency of any petrol engine by the efficiency law of auto cycle, right? So this is important.
Yes, sir.
This is the first thing. Now ever question হচ্ছে how auto cycle is formed, how you can form this auto cycle, how this auto cycle can be developed. Auto cycle has 4 different processes, right? It has 4 different processes. So for each process you need to you must know that there are some there's some different thing, right? Like something like this,
Yes, sir.
right? এবার এই যে ধর আমি ধরে নিচ্ছি এখন এই তো আমাদের ডায়াগ্রাম, এবার আমি ধরে নিচ্ছি যে এটা নেই, তাহলে
আচ্ছা।
প্রথম প্রসেস হচ্ছে আমার এইটা। এবার তুই ধর এটা নেই কিচ্ছু নেই, তোর কাছে শুধু স্টেট পয়েন্ট 1 আছে, স্টেট পয়েন্ট 2 আছে। এবার তুই আমাকে বল এইটা যে ঠিক এইভাবেই হবে, মানে এইভাবেই হবে, তুই কি করে বুঝবি? তুই তো এটাকে এভাবেও জয়েন করতে পারিস,
হ্যাঁ, sir.
এটাকে এভাবে জয়েন করতে পারিস। মানে একটা অ্যাডিয়াবেটিক প্রসেসের গ্রাফ যে এইভাবেই হবে, এটা আমরা বুঝতে পেরেছি তখনই যখন আমার কাছে এতগুলো পয়েন্ট আছে। ধর এই পয়েন্ট, এই পয়েন্ট, এই পয়েন্ট, এই পয়েন্ট,
ও
এতগুলো পয়েন্ট দিয়ে কিন্তু আমি কার্ভটাকে এরকম ভাবে প্লট করতে পারছি। এবার প্রত্যেকটা পয়েন্ট কি আসলে? প্রত্যেকটা পয়েন্ট আসলে একটা স্টেট। এই যে এখানে যে ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম স্টেট গুলো আছে, বুঝতে পারছিস? তো যতক্ষণ
Yes, sir.
আমি
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ।
ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম স্টেট গুলো পাচ্ছি ততক্ষণ অবধি আমি কার্ভটা জেনারেট করতে পারবো না, ততক্ষণ অবধি আমি মানে আইডিয়াল প্রসেসটা পাবো না। আর আইডিয়াল প্রসেস না পেলে তার সঙ্গে আমি রিয়েল এর কোনো কম্পারিজন করতে পারবো না।
না 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 না।
ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বুঝতে পারছি।
ঠিক আছে, ওকে। এনি আদার কোয়েশ্চেন্স?
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
এনি আদার কোয়েশ্চেন্স?
স্যার এই যে কোয়াসিস্ট্যাটিক প্রসেস,
হুম,
এটা যে আপনি বললেন যে ইনফিনিটলি স্লো,
হ্যাঁ।
তার মানে কি এটা কোনো মানে এন্ড নেই?
এন্ড নেই মানে বলতে এরকম কিন্তু অনেক প্রসেস আছে যার এন্ড নেই, যেমন হচ্ছে নিউক্লিয়ার রেডিয়েশন, সেটা কিন্তু কোয়াসিস্ট্যাটিক প্রসেস না। আমাকে বলতে হবে যে একটা একটা পয়েন্ট থেকে, একটা স্টেট থেকে, একটা ফাইনাল স্টেটে, ইনিশিয়াল স্টেট থেকে একটা ফাইনাল স্টেটে আমি যেতে চাই। I want to go from an initial state to a final state. The intermediate states are being carried out at very slowly. The intermediate states are done very slowly, so that we can plot each and individual state which are in thermodynamic equilibrium. মানে একটা স্টেট থেকে অন্য স্টেটে গেলাম, থার্মোডাইনামিক ইকুইলিব্রিয়ামে পৌঁছতে হবে তো।
হ্যাঁ
if the state wants to reach the thermodynamic equilibrium,